Disclaimer. We are two regular guys who love to talk Bone Thugs and Harmony. We do not represent Bone Thugs or any Bone affiliate. We are also not Bone Thugs experts. The views and information you hear in this podcast may be based on personal opinion. Please feel free to leave corrections and clarifying information in the comments. And enjoy.
And that was prior to that was
us in the process of recording the Miracle Mile album, because it was turning into more of the Smoking Three the It's Your World album originally. So when that happened, Feenics was helping me write all of this stuff, and he knew, he was like, man, this ain't really him. So he got together with Uneek. I guess me not, when Uneek came in and was like, well, what's going on with the music? I thought y'all was working last night. And they like, well, that nigga left. He ain't come back. And so I guess, Feenics must have talked to him, and then he came to visit me at the barbershop, and we had to talk. We just talked it out. And he was like, well, I get you. Let's go in there and let's make this happen. And what we decided was, and that's why the Explicit album was cool, because it's not that I don't like doing different types of music. It was just that if I got to put a record out that's going to represent me, and it's going to be, this is Bruce Hathcock specifically, that it was killing me that it wasn't. But I love doing crazy stuff like I did with Planet Sumo, the Explicit album. That shit was fun. But it's not specifically saying, yeah, this is me as a person representing who I am. And that's what I felt like Miracle Mile was going to be. And if it wasn't going to be representing me as a person, if it was going to be towards the It's Your World kind of stuff, I was like, it ain't going to work. I can't promote this. I can't get behind it. I wasn't feeling the songs emotionally. And so we got back in the studio, and I got to put a little bit more of me on. We did get some other writers in to help me, because I think what was going on is, when I started out, I was a young kid singing like an older person, so that was cool. It was cute. But now I am that age, and I'm still singing like this older person. And it's like, yo, we need you to be young. So we got some other guys to help write with me. And for those types of songs that I was kind of struggling with. And then we included a lot of my the stuff that I wanted to do, and the stuff I was doing would be natural.
Yeah, I definitely went, as I listened to those albums, you could tell there was a distinct difference. And that's kind of how I put the whole thing together, because I took Miracle Mile and fast forwarded through everything that you did from that point forward. And I was like, okay, this is where the guy, this is where the heart is at. I will tell you something that maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but your releases on Bone Thug Records, Explicit, the It's Your World snippets, It's Your World, even the Irresistible Round and Round single, these sell generally on eBay and Discogs anywhere from $100 to $200 a copy.
I don't get a dime of that.
Well, it's like now it's just like fans selling them, back and forth, because obviously they've been out of print for a long time. And I will say, whether you see a dime of it now or not, because fans are selling it, some CDs are worth 30 cents, some CDs are worth $200, and for your CD to be valued in such a way that people are paying $150 for it, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
It's an honor, man. It's an honor. It's like, it's an honor to see that. I just kind of wish that they wouldn't. I kind of wish, I get, you got to make money, and you got to get the money while it's there and while it's hot. But I kind of wish, if there's people that really are listening to my music and they really appreciate it, I feel like they're kind of being overcharged for it. I think it should be a little bit more camaraderie with the fans on that angle, is because it feels like these are, people who aren't real Bone affiliate fans. It's kind of like they've discovered that there's a niche for this, and then they bought up a bunch of stuff, and now they're
rare.
overpricing it to the people who are actually fans. And I'm not trying to knock them at all. It's just how I feel about it.
Well, I can tell you this, I kick myself in the ass all the time when I look at my collection and that I didn't just buy up a ton of BoneThugRecords.com releases. It's one of my big regrets as a fan is that I didn't go crazy buying stuff up at that time. You spent a lot of time over at Bone Thug Records. Like we said, it eventually evolved into Bankroll. Was when that evolution happened, I mean, was that just kind of like seamless? Like, did Uneek just tell you one day we're Bankroll Records, or was it like a brand new deal and a brand new change?
Well, at that point, I had already met my contractual agreement with Uneek, and we were just friends working together on stuff at that point. So for me, it was just about whatever he wanted to do. I was going to ride it out, and we was going to make something happen. And there was a lot of issues with what was going on with the whole Bone Thug camp, and I think that really I don't know if Uneek really wanted to go with Bankroll music as much as we were sort of forced into it at a certain point. It just became evident that we weren't going to be the entities that we probably wanted to be in that camp, you know? And so you got to move on. You can't just stop doing music because you're not a part of what you want to be a part of. And I feel like I couldn't be mad because they got me so far to a point where it was time for me to stand on my own 2 feet. And even being a part of Bankroll Records was, even to me, I was like, okay, I've been a good general for a long time, but when am I going to be the captain of my own ship? And I think that I was striving for that, but I never really could see it with clarity till I moved here and I started basically starting from scratch, starting all over again, and trying to make in moving in that direction. But Bankroll music, you know, Uneek's always got ideas. He's always trying to keep stuff going and keep stuff fresh. And all of those ideas were really centered around Bone. Like, there's some very Bone Thugs, being around them, I'm sure you guys know, it's an infectious sort of thing. And it's almost like, it's weird because it's like they say it's Bone for life. I'm like, it fucking is. Once you're in it, you're in it. You ain't never going to be the same after that, for the good and the bad. And it's mostly good as far as I'm concerned, for, you know, now in retrospect. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, do you remember roughly, you know, what year it was when you stopped, like really working with Uneek and stuff? Because I remember around 2013 there was a song with you on The Art of War, World War III, and then Uneek also released Electrofusion's Hollywood Squares, and you were featured very heavily on that. And then after that, it seemed like that was really like the last of the releases with like anybody from the Bone Camp. Was it around 2013, or do you remember when it was?
Well, that Art of War album was like, I barely made it on that album. Like, honestly, no one was trying to get me on that record. And I don't feel like they owed it to me to get me on the record. I mean, there's plenty of people who are super, super talented that could have been on that record, especially when you consider that I still hadn't built that name up the way I needed to, for it to be worth it to have me featured on the album. The only reason I got the feature on the album was because Phaedra, the singer, you guys know who Phaedra is?
Yeah.
Okay, so damn, my brain is fried right now. Who's their manager at the time was what was his name? What was the manager's name? Tall dude from Philly. I'm sure you guys would know. His name's on the tip of my tongue. I can't believe I can't say.
But
anyway,
right.
He was managing.
Yeah.
What was it?
No, I was just saying that's all right. Like it's fine.
He was the one who put the Unit 5 tour together. He was managing all of that stuff.
Lobel?
What
Steve
was
Lobel?
it?
Steve Lobel?
Not Steve
okay.
LaBelle. There was another guy right after Steve LaBelle. So they stopped working with Steve LaBelle. They got another guy as their manager.
Maybe Jamie or something. Maybe Atler or something.
Nah, wasn't Atler. Nah, it was a brother, tall dude. Oh man, I wish, but it was a big thing that blew up with him as well. So like, I don't know if you guys knew, but when Unique finished that album, he did involve me quite a bit with being there as far as the mix. He brought Aaron Carter back. I don't know if y'all knew that behind the scenes, Aaron Carter was mixing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so he actually got Aaron Carter back. He got me in the studio on a regular basis, coming to listen to the stuff. And for some reason, when it came down to mastering, they sort of didn't. I don't know who's they was. For some reason, Unique wasn't allowed to be around for that. And
There
I think
was a,
Unique he didn't push for me to be on the album because he was afraid that it would look like he was trying to do too much, by pushing me to get on the album. But their manager at the time was managing Phaedra, the singer, and she wrote that beautiful hook, "We Remember You Easy." And he said, "Bruce, do you want to try to sing on it with her?" And I was like, hell yeah. I was actually, that day I wasn't there to listen. That day I was there to cut hair. So I don't know if you've seen that video footage where I walk in and I got that old barber case and Wish is talking shit like, like, nigga, what the fuck is all this shit? But it'll be I think it's in their documentary. But that day was when I got on there and I sang it. And I left thinking that, they're probably going to take me off anyway. But for some reason, he kept me on there. And I was like, dude, that was like the grace of God that I made it on there. But from that point on, yeah, I don't understand what happened or why Unique wasn't more involved. With myself, I could see why, because I'm just at this, even though like I feel really close with those dudes because they've always looked out for me. I mean, Cray used to come to my house to get his hair cut when I wasn't cutting at the shop. Wish would come, all of that. So they still looked out for me. So we were still communicating. We just weren't recording.
I was going to ask if you at this point, if you still have, contact with Unique and Bone, because, there, as you go through affiliate stories, there's so many times where they're like, yeah, I don't have communication with them. And then, I talked to somebody that says, yeah, we still have great communication. So I've always been curious kind of where you're at with, Unique in that camp.
Well, Unique and I talk pretty often, man. We talk so much, like, and maybe the last couple of months we haven't talked, but prior to that, we talk almost once a month, if not twice a month. Right now, I'm supposed to be putting something together for him. I'm sure he's wondering where the hell it's at, but for this music school that he's doing, and yeah, I got to get on that, get that to him. But we talk all the time. So like, Unique is like, he's like my big brother. So we always gonna talk. And I don't know if you guys know, but he got real sick for a minute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so we, as soon as we were talking prior to that, and we still talk all the time, yeah, because we lost John B, man, and that was like, for me, that let me know, yeah, we got to really, really stick together, because you never know when your number's going to get called. And like, to this day, I don't think none of us ever got over losing John B, man. I don't know if y'all know John B, but when Aaron Connor was left, John B was sort of the second engineer to Aaron Connor. Aaron Connor was the head guy. And then when he left, John B had to step up and become that dude. Him and VMix they had to run it all. And we lost John B, and that is just, to this day, man, it breaks my heart. I was looking at an email of him, that email that he sent me yesterday. And but yeah, I think from that, I don't think we'll ever not work together or not talk. Like, I still feature on some of Unique stuff. He does like the gospel, jazz music stuff. If you can just subtly hear me, I do like little samples for him. I do a lot of voiceovers. Like, there might be samples of Tupac on there. That's not really Tupac. It's like him underneath it, and that's me imitating him. So we don't have to pay for the samples and all that stuff.
Shit. So that's cool.
So yeah, so we still actually work together, but I'm also so busy with my stuff that I don't really get a lot of time to do that. And with the Bone Cats, I was with them when they came out the last time they were here. I met up with them. They did fall asleep, ask me to come cut their hair at the hotel, and then fall asleep and not come to me, but that's okay.
Well, if you still got contact with Unique.
What's that?
I was saying, if you still got contact with Uneek, I saw that you said you were looking for that wishbone feature. So Uneek should be able to get you that wishbone feature you were
I
looking
know,
for.
man. I know. But I don't know how much. I know he talks to Cray more than anybody, man. So that's the glue. Yeah, primarily I have to go through Cray and then get to Wish that way. But yeah, I move on quick, so I'll just put something out there and then I'm off to the next thing, and hopefully one day that'll happen.
A question I had about not only the In Memory of Easy track, but even like your when you were credited on the Hollywood Squares album, I saw at that point you were going under Brucey B, and now it looks like you do Bruce Hathcock again. And I was wondering kind of like what that era in your career was and why the name change and that.
Okay. Oh yeah, that is a funny story. Dave Mitchery used to work with he worked at Death Row. Um, so there was a Bone album that was going to be released under this essentially a movie. They're not even a music label; they're a movie company. But David Mitchery loves music, so he wanted to have his own division of music underneath it. And so they got Nate Dogg, they got a bunch of people, and Bone was one of them. Something fell through with the Bone project. I don't know what it was. And so he asked DJ-Uneek if he had any more material, and Uneek dumped him off a bunch of stuff, whatever he had. And for some reason, he picked up my stuff and he liked it. It was the Let's Ride song. He loved that song. And so he was like, I want to sign you guys to sort of a licensing agreement kind of thing. And they didn't want to use my full name. They didn't like it. No one ever liked me using my full name in the music industry, but I just refused to not use it. And there's a reason for that. But at this point, I was down on my luck again, and I was like, you know what? I don't care if these motherfuckers want to call me Gangsta B. They can do it, man. They paying, they can call me whatever they want. And he was like, so what nickname can we come up with you? And then at the barbershop, Tone always called me Brucey B. Everybody always called me Brucey B. So I was like, you know what? Just put me as Brucey B on there. And then, so that's what they did. So all the material that came out under that came out as Brucey B, which I think I'm not real happy about because I would have rather have my real name on it, but it's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah, it was as a fan, it was confusing. It took me a minute to catch up and realize, oh, this is Bruce. This isn't like a different singer with, So it took me a second to catch up. I've always wondered about kind of that, just like a 2013-ish, 2012 time frame on that. So
yeah.
A lot of changes for you over your career. I was reading a bio it was on exclusiverecording.com, and I wanted to just run a list of names by you that I read and just check how crazy accurate this is, because it said that you've worked with a laundry list of people. I saw Marilyn Manson on there, Missy Elliott, Randy Jackson, Angie Stone, Lady of Raids, Royce the 5'9", Sleepy Brown, Akon, and I even know that you pretty recently worked with Killer Mike on Love in the 90s. Is this accurate? That's an amazing lineup. In addition to Bone.
It's accurate. However, okay, you have to take into consideration. So working with, I opened up for Angie Stone. The Marilyn Manson and the Missy Elliott tracks were done on the same day, and I pretty much I think, what did I do? I played guitar for a producer who was working with projects for them, so those projects never came out. The actual Killer Mike was actually recorded for, so there's an album I've been trying to release called Planet Sumo for the longest that is hot, and the guy who hooked it up, his name is Stinjo. He's got a bunch of stuff going on, but he used to be in a rap group called Another Level that was signed under Q. And they took off. They did really well. I don't know what happened, why they didn't continue on, but he started doing other projects. So he got me in. He's the one who got me on the Akon track. He got me on the Sleepy Brown track, and he got me on the Killer Mike track. So all of that stuff is all on the Planet Sumo album that we haven't officially released yet, and we've been sitting on this album for about at least 8 years, probably more.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
it's
say
still hot.
we saw a little like a short commercial for Planet Sumo on your YouTube.
Yeah, so he's been doing little clips because we're just trying to see what kind of response we get from the songs before release it, because it's such a big project. It's not like, because I'm one to just release songs. I don't care. I won't do promos for it. You see how I do. I just upload a song. I won't even do like, when you go on, they have this structure, the way you're supposed to release your new single. And I'm like, man, mute all that. I don't have time for it. I just put the song out so that it's up there, because I'm trying to get my catalog on the streaming sites, because I haven't put all of it up there yet. But yeah, so he hooked that up. There was one other person you mentioned. Okay, I said Killer Mike. Who was it?
Royce the 5'9", Lady of Rage, Randy Jackson.
Oh yeah, Later Rage, same. That was with Stinjo from Another Level. But now Royce the 5'9", that is a trip, because he wasn't who he is right now. That one was crazy. I have a friend who's a producer, and he does like this really eclectic, weird type of hip hop / lo-fi / just real crazy shit. And he hit me up one day and he was like, man, I'm working with this rapper named Royce the 5'9". And I had heard of him, but I hadn't heard his stuff. I heard that he was, ill. His word on the streets was like, yo, this dude is the truth. Yeah. And he sent me the track that he had recorded with no hook, and he was like, can you write a hook for it? And I was like, fuck yeah. So I wrote the hook. I didn't know, again, if they were going to use it, but they ended up keeping it. So a lot of these cats I didn't even get to meet. Of course, I hung out with Lady of Rage at the studio. Didn't get to meet Sleepy Brown. Didn't get to meet Akon. And the reason I got on the Akon track was just because they had his vocals, and the recording wasn't. It didn't have enough vocals on it, so they needed to beef it up a little bit more. So they added me. So basically, I imitated his voice for that track, and then I added my own stuff on top of it, my signature stuff.
That's
as
awesome.
well. But yeah, it's accurate.
You're a guy that has moved from Ohio to LA back and forth and spent a lot of time in California. You have, been a guy that's been homeless. You've been signed. You've been on tour. But one of the major moves of Bruce Hathcock's life is you decided we're moving out of California and we're going down under to Australia. It's something you even document in your video all right now. And this is a massive move to make. We're not talking about moving from Ohio to California. We're the other side of the world. What made you decide to make a move that big? And do you remember what year that was? I know in your video it kind of shows a bunch of older footage from 2012, 2013, but when did you actually make that move and why?
When did I make that move? I don't remember. It would have been exactly 8 years ago. It would have been exactly 8 years, because I've been here for 8 years now.
Okay.
About 2012.
Yeah, about 2012.
I was dating a young lady at the time who, her and her best friend were moving to LA. They're from Australia. Their big plan was to move to Australia together. Move from Australia to LA together. Her friend was dating a really close friend of mine. They actually linked us up. And during the process, it's still all the the ups and downs of the music industry and the barber industry at that time and what was going on. And I just wasn't feeling staying there. My son had gotten older, so I sort of lost my way when my son got older, because your life gets centered around certain things. So like every Friday night, him and all his friends would be at my house. So we're playing movies, watching movies, playing video games. I had my studio set up in the living room, so like I could work on music while I was interacting with the kids. I would cook, order pizza, and that was my everyday Friday night. And then they all got older, and they weren't there anymore. They wasn't coming by. Financial issues, all that stuff, and I just wanted to get out of LA, man. I felt like I had too much noise, and I couldn't really hear straight. And I also didn't want her to move to LA under those circumstances and the way things were going. So at the time, she was a nurse. She was trying to pass the NCLEX exam. She wasn't doing so well. She was like, oh, I'm going to move over anyway. I was like, I'm not going to have you working at some, bar when you got a degree and all of that. It don't make sense to do all that, to give up everything you got going on. Like, LA is cool, but it's not all of that. Mind you, at the time, she had been living in LA off and on. We had an apartment together and stuff. And unbeknownst to me, she didn't really want to move to LA. It was one of those things where she started off wanting to live there, but the longer she visited, the more she realized, wait a minute, I'm not so sure. But she wanted to make things work with me. And I didn't know that was what was going on until I brought it up to her that, like, I know you want to move to LA, but I want to leave. And she was like, well, honestly, I didn't know how to tell you, but I really wanted to change my mind and not move to LA. I'm like, but you moved all your clothes over, you moved all your shit. She was like, and so I decided I said, listen, I'll move to Australia. And if we want to come back to LA, we can. There's no reason why we can't move back. I mean, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. Let me get some clarity. I've always been sort of frustrated with when you get to a point where you have the experiences that I had that I could have never dreamed of before, you get this responsibility with those experiences to make things happen. And granted, I did have some great successes. I felt like I wanted to do more. I had so many contacts that in retrospect, sitting here, I'm like, oh my God, like the people that I have access to is ridiculous. It doesn't even make any sense. And I could never connect them all to connect the dots the way I wanted to. And I felt like, you know what, I want to pull myself out of this for a minute and just focus on my craft and expanding on it. So I moved here, and that's what I did.
So are you an Australian citizen now, or do you still have U.S. citizenship?
I'm in Australia. I have dual citizenship at the moment. So I'm still an American citizen, but I also have Australian citizenship. I thought it was really important for me to do so because I'm running, I was running a couple businesses here, but we had to close down one because of COVID. But running a business here, I was like, I don't feel safe not being a citizen and I'm running a business. Anything can go wrong. So I applied for my citizenship here and I got it. And I love this country too. It's awesome here. It is an awesome place to be.
That's awesome. What's the biggest change for you between like LA and Sydney?
Biggest change. What is the biggest change between LA and Sydney? Well, first off, there's not as many black people. So there's not that. So that. What else?
Is it fast paced? Like, because LA is a real fast.
No. It's
place.
slow. It's slow. Like people here think it's fast paced. Like they complain about the traffic here, and I'm just like, man, please. And this ain't traffic, man.
In front of your hair place, do kangaroos ever hop by?
Nah, man. I wish, man. I really wish. Nah, the kangaroos, man. It's actually, you got to go way out to kind of see that stuff because we're in a small suburb, but we're just right outside the major city. So, and we're in like Sydney's like it's the I don't know. It's like the biggest. It would be like the LA of America, where we're at.
Well, I was watching a video. It was actually one of your vlogs, and at one point you said a friend named Goose got you started being a barber. I was wondering how long like this has been what you've done. I mean, you obviously are doing it now, but I mean, I've heard, even in this interview, you talked about how long you've been doing it. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure you're the guy that cut Crazy Bones hair down, Lazy Bones hair down. So you've been doing it a long time.
Actually, Goose is my brother.
Oh, really? Right on.
Yeah, he's my brother. Yeah. So I've been cutting hair for about 20 years now. I started when my son was 2. So He was really into barbering. I wasn't really into it like that, to be honest. For me, it was a hustle. It was like, okay, I can get into this. I don't have to sell drugs, but I don't have to push a clock. I can come and go as I please. It allowed me independence. I'm just a very I need to have independence. I can't stand being in a position where I'm working for somebody and I can't maneuver the way I want to move. And so barbering allowed me that freedom. You pay your rent for your chair. It's legal. I'm not selling drugs. That was always something that was like for me to try to get away from as much as possible, even though I did occasionally have to do, you know. So that allowed me to go, okay, well, I don't have to sell drugs at all. Like, I don't have to even dabble in it. I'm making enough money where, you know, I'm cool. I don't have to do it. And when I wasn't making a lot of money barbering, it was still worth it to not have to be doing anything criminal and not have to go punch a clock, you know. And Lord knows I did a lot of different jobs during the course of me doing music.